Alright, now we're going to be doing section 6.7, which is solving quadratic equations by completing the square. Last section you kind of toyed around with the idea of completing the square, and you had some expressions where you were asked to find and shown how to find the third term that you would want to add. Now I'm going to actually do an example by video that'll show you how you're going to use that and what the process is you do it. So pretty much we can just start with our example. So if we have an example, something like this, x squared minus 10x plus 7 equaling 0. So this is something that we call a quadratic formula. Quadratic equation. And you'll see actually next section we're going to derive the quadratic formula using completing the square. And you'll get a better idea of what in general a quadratic equation is. But for now all you need to know is anything with x squared and then an x and then a constant equaling a constant is going to be a quadratic equation. So here we're going to have we have the starting quadratic equation, and like if we just look at this and say, can I factor this? That's a good question. So first I would say sit down and look at this and can you factor it? So what are the factors of 7? Remember we normally would do our factors tree of 7, and we would find that 7's prime. So there's only 1 and 7, and there's no combination of 1 and 7, either positive or negative, that would add to negative 10. So normally you would look at this and say, I can't factor it. But now we're going to use this completing the square term to be able to solve it. So the first thing you want to do is the next step is you want to get your coefficient, and I'm going to put plus blank here because you're going to want to get this all by itself in order to add, and you'll move the 7 onto the other side of the equation. So last section you learned the rules that you needed to know in order to complete the square. So like last time, now we're interested in finding out what we're going to add to the blank. So the way you do that is you look at your coefficient of x, which here is going to be negative 10. So we're going to take half of that, which is negative 5, and then we're going to square that. So negative 5 squared gives you 25. So we're interested in adding 25 to both sides. So we're going to have x squared plus 10x plus 25 equaling negative 7, and then we're going to add 25 to that side as well. Okay, once we're from here, normally what you would do is then look at this quadratic, and you can see like, oh, the first term and the third term are both perfect squares. That is the normal sign that you should think to yourself, oh, this might be a a binomial squared. So if we look at this and we want to factor this, so then we can say what factors of 25 are going to add to give us negative 10? Well, negative 5 and negative 5 multiply to give you 25 and add to give you negative 10. We picked that to be the case. By adding this 25 here, we're telling it that it's actually going to be a binomial squared. So that's nice that way. So we're going to have minus 5 squared. And if you're ever feeling uncertain about this, you can always FOIL this out to check to make sure what you're doing is correct. And here we're just going to combine like terms so that we're going to end up with 18. So once we get it to here, it's just like all the other problems that you've seen before. So you're going to be taking the square root of both sides. And then from there, you're going to take the absolute value of x minus 5 equals the square root of 18. And I mean, the 18 is not a perfect square or anything, so you can either plug this into your calculator to find out what the square root of 18 is, or you can just leave it the square root of 18, if it's in a calculator free section. So then you're going to be left with x minus 5 equaling square root of 18, and then you're going to be left with negative x plus 5 equaling the square root of 18, and then you have x equals square root of 18 plus 5, and negative x equals square root of 18 minus 5, and then you can have, from here you're going to end up with x equals and those are your two solutions for this type of problem.